Welcome to the Deep Dive, your personalized shortcut to understanding complex information. Today, we're zeroing in on a very specific viewpoint. It's an audio source, quite politically charged, dealing with the travel ban. And our mission, like always, is to really pull out the key insights from this particular perspective for you.
Exactly.
We're not here to agree or disagree, just to unpack what this source actually says, how it frames its points. It's really important, especially with opinionated material, to just look at it impartially. It helps you understand the whole information landscape out there.
That's right. Our focus is purely on extracting the information and arguments that the source itself is putting forward. We're laying out their viewpoint, the evidence they point to, and the conclusions they come to. Strictly based on what they said, it's about getting a clear picture of the narrative they're building, not checking if it's factually correct.
Okay, great. So let's dive in. The source is an audio clip from right-wing news. The host actually calls themselves the voice of reason. And right away, they frame President Trump's travel ban as a kind of bombshell against his opponents.
Yeah, that's the immediate framing.
The voice of reason presents it as this huge move, specifically aimed at, well, Democrats and, quoting the source here, all those tools protesting it.
And it's interesting how they describe the ban itself. They insist it's temporary and also constitutional. They explicitly say there is nothing unconstitutional about it. That's a direct quote. So right off the bat, they assert its legality and, limited nature. It really sets the stage for their defense.
And they don't hold back on describing the protesters either.
No, not at all.
The source calls them whining brats and liberal buffoons who are complaining about something unfair and unconstitutional. That kind of language, it's very strong, very emotionally charged, isn't it? It seems designed to dismiss opposition immediately.
It absolutely is. It sets up a clear us versus them feel right from the start, rather than, engaging with any counter-arguments.
Yeah.
And they also mention the Ninth Circuit Court. That's the federal appeals court out west. The host says they were skeptical before that the court would overturn the lower court's decision, thinking it wasn't typical for them. And they also seem confident that if it reached the Supreme Court, the justices, given the court's makeup, would end up upholding the ban.
Okay, but then the story shifts, right? The source introduces what they call a massive development, this alleged release of new White House documents to Fox News. They really hype this up as the biggest of bombshells.
They certainly do. And the central claim about these supposed documents is, well, pretty dramatic. They allege these documents list 24 refugees, specifically from those 7 countries in the travel ban, who have apparently been charged with terrorism.
Wow. And how does the source interpret that? What's the significance, according to them?
Well, their take is that this exposed Obama as just brazen lies. That's the phrase used. And it even leads them to suggest his actions might have been outright treason.
Treason, that's a heavy charge.
It is, though they do immediately add that calling it treason is a slippery slope. So a slight hedge there.
Okay. But what specifics, what details does the source provide to back up this idea of brazen lies in these documents?
Right. So based on these alleged documents, they break down the supposed origins of the 24 individuals. It's 10 from Somalia, 6 from Iraq, 1 from Yemen, 2 from Sudan, 2 from Iran, 2 from Libya, and 1 from Syria.
And these aren't recent cases, according to the source.
No, they claim these incidents span the, quote, entire 8 years of the Obama administration.
The full 2 terms.
Exactly. And to make the point more concrete, they give a couple of specific examples. One is a case from June, supposedly involving 2 Somali refugees jailed for conspiring to commit murder on behalf of ISIS.
Okay.
And another example from March of the previous year involves a Yemeni native who'd become a U.S. citizen. This person was apparently sentenced to 22 years in prison for attempting to provide material support to ISIS, planning attacks on U.S. military members after coming back from Iraq.
So, citing these specific alleged cases and the overall list, where does the source go next with this? It sounds like they're building towards something critical of the previous administration.
Very critical. They pivot to direct accusations against former President Obama. The source claims he, quote, hid the fact that he knew damn frickin' well that he was allowing people into the country who wanted to harm America.
And there's more, isn't there? The source uses some pretty intense personal language, too.
Yes, the host says, and this is another direct quote, not that that's anything new. The guy's a freaking sociopath.
Wow. Okay. That's quite a statement.
It is.
Yeah.
And They continue this line of argument, claiming the State Department, before some officials left or were fired,
Yeah.
was supposedly trying to cram in as many refugees as humanly possible right before Trump's travel ban took effect.
Why? What reason does the source give for that?
They frame it as a deliberate effort to undermine him, meaning President Trump.
I see. And there was also a point about Obama criticizing Trump.
Yes, the source asserts Obama chastised Trump about the issue, all while, according to them, knowing he himself was lying. And this, the source says, shows the true markings of a sociopath. Again, very strong personal attacks tied to the policy claims.
So it's not just about policy disagreement, it's framed as a fundamental character issue.
Absolutely. And the broader argument they make connects all this back to political correctness. They claim Obama was so worried about being politically correct that he ended up being directly responsible for putting American lives at risk.
And it was all for his political agenda.
That's the claim, for his own flipping political agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And they even broaden it further, suggesting Democrats generally wanted to switch demographics through immigration to basically make it impossible for the Republican Party, the GOP, to win elections in the future. So a grand political strategy is alleged.
Okay, so moving from the accusations to what the source thinks will happen next, do they make predictions?
They do. The source believes this new information, these alleged documents, may very well influence the court enough to get the travel ban put back in place.
But they acknowledge it might not.
Right. They do concede there are several reasons why the Ninth Circuit may still not reinstate it. So a bit of uncertainty there.
And what about public reaction if the ban is reinstated?
The source predicts trouble, specifically more massive riots coming from the last. And because of that, they urge their listeners to stay vigilant and to keep our eyes on far-left groups. It's a warning about potential unrest.
And finally, there's a call to action, right? What does the source want its listeners to do?
Yes, a very direct call to action. They tell the audience to share this brand new information on social media.
Why social media specifically?
Because, and again I'm quoting, the mainstream media is not going to be talking about this.
That's interesting. So positioning themselves as the source of information the mainstream won't cover.
Exactly. It encourages bypassing traditional news outlets and reinforces the idea that they have the real story. It's a way to build a dedicated audience.
Right. So just to recap the main narrative from this specific source, President Trump's travel ban was constitutional, necessary, and justified by these alleged White House documents showing refugees involved in terrorism during the Obama years, information they claim Obama actively hid, possibly for political reasons, even undermining Trump deliberately.
That's a good summary of their core argument. And this whole deep dive really underscores why it's useful to analyze sources like this critically, whatever their perspective, understanding these different information streams, how they build their arguments, how they frame events for their audience. It's key to navigating the complex information environment we're all in.
Absolutely. And it leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? When you encounter sources claiming vital information is being deliberately kept from the public, and they urge you, the listener, to spread it directly, bypassing other channels, what does that signal about how information flows today? How might this kind of direct, often unfiltered dissemination shape our collective grasp of really complex issues and policies? Something to definitely ponder.